Institute is that people are having face-to-face conversations and building freedom that flows from the people, from God, and then into us, and then from the people, not down, trickle down from the government. And so this is his expression showing up in any shape, form, and experience right now. You guys talking, and you guys are building community, and this is what he started the Brownstone Institute for. And I am so honored to have Mikki Willis here, and he was so instrumental. Brownstone came out of COVID, right? Came out of the Breed-Barrington Declaration and saying we do not quarantine healthy people. That is not something that we do. We never have, and we should never do that. And so I don't know, most of you probably know who Mikki is, but I want Mikki to share, since this is a Brownstone event and it came out and he was so instrumental in so many of our lives during COVID. I want him to really share how he came to be where he is right now and how COVID was part of that.
Thank you. Let's hear it from Molly. And not only with Molly, without Elias, who's somewhere around here working really hard, I guarantee you. Molly's brother, Ryland, who's in Africa right now, one of my best friends. And we go back a number of years. We're all former California woke far lefties who thankfully survived it and woke up and moved to Texas. God bless Texas. Can you guys hear me in the back? You can hear it? And let's hear for John Bush. John is doing such great work, really such great, important work. I'm honored to be here. I'm excited to be here. And quite frankly, I'm delighted to be alive in this moment, in this historic moment here in this incredible country we call America, United States, land of the free, home of the brave, that gets to be the firewall that protects the rest of the world. I don't know how many of us are aware that's what this is. That's America with its very unique foundation. I hear from people all over the world, and they'll tell me, please, please, America, we're all rooting for you guys, because we know what happens if America goes down. And thank God the American spirit is so resilient and brilliant that it is not willing to give up, and will never give up. So I'll start by, for those of you who have no idea who the heck I am, raise your hand. Security? So I'm an independent filmmaker. I lived in Hollywood doing the Hollywood thing for many years. And then it just so happens that I directed my first movie in the early 2000s, and I was in New York City in 2001 working out a distribution deal for my very first movie. And it turns out that's when the World Trade Center was attacked. I was scheduled to fly out on 9/11, but obviously was unable to leave, so instead my buddy and I went down to Ground Zero, and we did search and rescue and body recovery for 3 days. And it was quite an experience, as you can imagine. And it was such an intense experience, things that I never thought I'd see in my entire life, that it left me at the crossroads of really understanding for the first time, suddenly I'd been hypnotized in the world of Hollywood to such a degree that the house mattered and the car and the power and all this stuff, but seeing these 2 towers that I visited as a tourist the day before for the first time, and suddenly they were dust, and we're now in elevator shafts bringing bodies out, and seeing all the finest automobiles lining the streets that were just crushed, and the whole material world has suddenly turned to dust in front of us. To see the fragility of the human body, to suddenly have to ask myself a very important question, and that is, out of everything I've created up to that point, someday when I have children, which now I have 2 incredible, beautiful boys, I'd ask myself, everything I've created, I had a great career in Hollywood, what have I created that I would be proud to show my children someday? And I could not think of one project. I thought of a lot of projects that I hope they don't see. And I suddenly realized that something happened to me. That being within the machinery of Hollywood, being within that kind of hypnotic state of consumerism and materialism, where everyone's trying to make it and get ahead, and it's about everything that doesn't matter. I suddenly was faced with what mattered, the question of what matters. It was a snap to grid that is hard for me still to this day, 20-some years later, to find the words for. The snap to grid that had me realize that this game this agenda that we've all found ourselves in, separates us from the most important things in our lives. Above all, God. In our dreams, our purpose, love, family, all the stuff that really actually matters most. And I started to think about all the rich executives that I had relationships with in Hollywood and realizing how most of them are just miserable. They got the houses, the pool, the cars, and they're miserable. And so it was a real journey for me to start to look at what was my inciting dream as a child, and why did I even end up in this business? Was it to sell products that I wouldn't even use on my own body? Was it to make these oligarchs rich while they give me a little bit of breadcrumbs so I can survive as an artist? Was that my dream as a child? And of course the answer was no. There was something greater. And then I remembered thinking about my childhood and all the childhoods that I had witnessed, and tying a cape around my neck and jumping off the bed because I knew I could fly. We all did that. Thinking about all the dreams that we had as children, to be something great, to do something while we're here. And I realized I hadn't done any of that. And so I left the business. I left Hollywood. I wanted nothing to do with it. And lo and behold, right after I finally came out of New York and came back, I met the love of my life, my wife of now 24 years, and started to really contemplate, what do I do with this ability that I have worked so hard to earn, the skill of making films, because the industry that I'm in doesn't care about meaningful films that I want to make. They don't care. It's about the bottom line. Does it sell? And so I thought, well, I guess I'm out of the game. And then, now I will say that a few years before that, my brother was killed by a medicine called EZT that was given to hundreds of thousands of AIDS patients and killed them rapidly. Medicine that was administered by someone you probably never heard of, a little doctor named Anthony Fauci, and killed hundreds of thousands of people in the 80s and 90s. 34 days later, because my mom was warned by my brother's friends that this medicine is what's going to kill your son, and she said, the doctors tell me to follow the science and to listen to America's #1 doctor, and that if I take him off this medicine, they tell me he's going to die. They said, no, Jackie, the medicine is going to kill him. But she listened to the doctors because she was told that's what you do. And when he died, my mother lost the will to live. So much shame for making that decision that she died. She succumbed to her cancer that she fought for 12 years and died 34 days after my brother died. Wow. Definitely shocking story, but not a sad story. I always say the two greatest gifts my mom ever gave me was my life and her death. Because my mom's death was my greatest fear. So in that moment, I was charged with, what am I going to do? What am I going to do now that I've had this happen in my family, raised by a single mom? Really didn't know what to do. I ended up getting caught in the Hollywood circuitry, and now flash forward after 9/11 happens, I leave the business. All these years go by, my wife and I start a few things around how do we bring more consciousness, more meaning into Hollywood. We started something called the Elevate Film Festival, which I think still holds the record as the largest single screen event. 1,000 people would show up to see these positive films made about solutions and what's right with humanity, which we never get to see on the news. And suddenly 2020 rolls around, and I see this little figure, Anthony Fauci, resurface. And I'm out of business, knowing what he had done in the 80s and 90s. And it was shocking to me to go, wait, I recognize that gruff little voice. This cannot be that guy. There's no way this could be that guy. This is the guy who killed my brother and so many other people. And so people ask a lot. They go, how did you get, a movie made and out May 4th of 2020? So immediately I was like, because I knew what was going to happen. I knew his MO. And so I had no doubt about it. And so we released Plandemic 1. We released a little movie made on a shoestring called Plandemic, suggesting that the pandemic was planned by politics. And now it's been proven. And that one little movie, 26-minute movie, is the most seen independent movie in history with 1.5 billion views. Now the beauty of that's what we did together. So there's a lot of people that have already come up to me to say that film helped me and my family understand we need to be more informed before we put experimental toxins into our body. But it's the power of the people that spread that film around the world. And so that's what happens when we unify, when we're courageous enough to get uncomfortable, because that's really what it comes down to, is we have become addicted to comfort and convenience. And so the addiction to comfort and convenience means we do convenience stores to buy fast food, not even real food. But with that said, I wanted to kind of set a preference tone here and some context to what put us on the map was that first little film. And since then we've done dozens of movies. We're producing 5 now, probably a 6th coming up that I just said yes to today. Our team has expanded, and it's been an incredible gift and opportunity to know that we're moving the needle against one of the most evil forces on the planet, which is big media and big pharma. So here we are.
Talking about all of us, and you said we did this together, and that I love that. And so a lot of us had divisions in our life over COVID and over choosing sides, and that was a big part of COVID. And every day we still have divisions in our lives, and they're fabricated by those two things that you said, government and media, that they're on purpose dividing us. And I have a shirt over there that says raw milk, the real white privilege, bacon available to all. I love this shirt. And so people are calling me racist. Obviously, that's obvious that I'm racist. But these are people I've known for 20 years, and it's crazy. But that's kind of a joke. But you and my brother have been friends for 20 years. You and him had a break that was fully my brother's fault, and I fought against it desperately. But I want to say that you found a way to heal that relationship that was not easy. And then publicly here on the ranch at a Confluence Festival, you guys rehashed what happened. But I'd like you to tell a little bit of that story, and also what you think the role of forgiveness is moving forward as more people wake up and as more people join Team Freedom.
Molly's brother, Ryland, as she said, is one of my best friends and someone that I love, the Fleck family. And so Molly's family, they're pioneers of regenerative farming, of the food that you're eating. These are some of the world's top experts, and they just happen to be right here in this 200-acre beautiful sovereignty ranch. When COVID came out, I had a lot of friends that backed away from me just because I was a leper. Ryland didn't do that then, but it turned out that a year later, in 2021, I was asked to speak in DC on a health freedom stage, which is my cause. And it was, as I'm waiting backstage to speak, we hear sirens. And someone comes over and says, something's happened at the Capitol. And I have 2 videographers with me. We were there to actually film immigrants from other nations, from China, from Poland, from Venezuela, from all the countries who have already been captured by communism. And we were there to interview them because they were all there to warn America. They escaped to the free world of America, and I've already interviewed several of them, and they're always saying, I can't believe you guys can't see. But we've learned to see. It's happening right in front of you, but most of you are blind. So we wanted to film all these immigrants so we could create a short film of just warnings so people could say, this is what you must look out for. Here's what's happening, believe it or not, in America. And that's why we were there. So we hear the sirens. I tell my 2 videographers, both of them are female. I said, go check it out. I'm not going to speak for another hour or so, so go check it out. An hour goes by, I'm calling them, and then we had radios in the ears, and they're not answering anything, so I'm getting worried about them. One of them was very seasoned activist, so she knows how to take care of herself, jiu-jitsu trainer. And the other one was a doughy-eyed innocent. I was like, she's going to get into trouble. Because then people started saying, oh, the Capitol's being insurrection, something's happening. Oh, I need to go get these young ladies and pull them out of there. So I go over, and long story short, I'm on the backside of the Capitol. It's peaceful, babies on shoulders, music playing, people waving flags. And I'm trying to call my two videographers, and I couldn't get a hold of them. So I go, maybe they're inside. I go up the back stairs, and people are going in and out. They're letting people go in and out peacefully. But then I saw a broken window, and I was like, I've been around long enough to know that's not a good sign. And so I'm going to stay out. I'm going to stay here. And then anyway, finally end up getting a call. They're back at the stage. So I go back to the stage. I do my talk. I come call. We're editing the footage with the immigrants in there. I get a friend sends me a meme, and it's got a picture of me, and it says, "Meet Mikki Willis, director of Plandemic documentary and domestic terrorism." And I went, what? What is this? And my friend just said, the word was, "This is insane," with 20 exclamation marks. So I call him, I go, "Where'd you get that?" He goes, "You haven't seen it?" I said, "No, what?" He goes, "It's all over the internet." What? I go on the internet, and I find out, while I was at the Capitol, there was this, as a filmmaker, I'm always noticing cameras, right? There was this young man, a young Asian man, he had this really nice camera. And I kept, everywhere I went, I was like, oh, there's that camera again. There it is again. And he came up to me all the way, he goes, "What's your name?" And I told him, and he goes, "Not so." And he walked away. New York Times. So New York Times put me at the head of their insurrection reel, because I've learned, because I used to be an activist, do a lot of frontline activism, but I've learned that when we go to edit something that is what they call an action. So an action is a volatile situation. We sometimes are in the NFA forgetting what time did this happen, what happened first, because there's so much chaos. So I create a video diary. I go, okay, so it's 1:32 now. I'm here on the steps of the Capitol. They're still trying to get inside. I'm looking for my crew, and we're doing I just give a little video diary. They filmed me saying that and cut it out of context, so it looked like I was saying, "We're here trying to get in," and they suggested that I was leading an insurrection. And this was revenge for Plandemic. And so my family and I go in, we have to go into hiding because I lawyer up, and my lawyers check out the case, and they said, "They are gunning for you." And they're knocking on doors all over Texas, and they're arresting people. They're like, "Be ready." And I said, "I didn't even go in. It doesn't even matter." And so my family and I go into hiding for 2.5 months. We make a short film that we end up have to show the FBI. I'm on camera the whole time. This is it. So that finally goes away. But while this is happening, somebody else sends me something, and they said, "Holy shit, this is from Ryland." That's a public statement from one of my best friends, telling the world he no longer associates with me. That the nonprofit, yeah, that's right, it should be more clear. I'm on the advisory board of the nonprofit Kiss the Ground. We're no longer working with them. So distancing themselves from me. And of course, it was very hurtful. And I call Ryland immediately, and he's crying as he picks up the phone. I go, "How you doing?" He goes, "I feel like a piece of shit." I said, "Well, you look like one right now too. I have to agree. You're not too far off. What's going on?" He goes, "A PR firm wrote that, and my partners made me put that out." Wow. And I said, "Ryland, I understand. I just wish you would have called me first, because nothing that was said, I didn't go in. New York Times lied. They wrote a multi-page article about me going in, leading the insurrection, trying really hard to lock me up." And I said, I understand, Ron. I said, "I wish you would have handled it differently, and called me first, but I'm glad that this matters to you, and I'm not angry. We'll get through this." And I will say this is one of the most beautiful elements of what happened, since I have had very little apologies from people, except for the people who call me because they're from reporters who were railing against me in 2020 and now have a sick wife and are asking us to try to help her. And then those are the people that might say, "By the way, I know I wrote something bad about you, and I apologize. It turns out you were right." But Ryland was, when they were going to buy this ranch, Ryland was coming from Los Angeles through Texas, and he said, "Can I come to your house?" We had moved out of Ojai, California, because they started a petition to make my family move. That's how crazy it got. So we said, "You don't want us here, we're gone." So we left. Ryland's coming through Texas. I said, "Yeah, come on over." We sat on the back porch. He gave me the most tearful, heartfelt, sincere apology I've ever received in my life. And then we came here on an event night, and he did it again in front of a large crowd. It was the most beautiful healing and demonstration of how amazing a man can be, to admit I was wrong and then to heal that wound with his brother, which is, we call each other brothers. To see how the system almost wedged itself between two people who've had birthdays together. We're both Geminis. My birthday's coming up. Right? No, I'm 12.
Oh.
He's 9th and I'm 12. Yeah, as your dad, exactly. And so it was this really beautiful experience that happened right here in this room. Right?
Yeah.
This room, yeah, right here. And it was kind of the beginning of this cascade of really, okay, look, a lot of people got very scared. They were very tormented, terrorized by these narratives. And the thing that heals it is to be humble enough to admit that I was wrong, I got it wrong, I was scared, fear took over. He did all of that. And so anyway, my wife and I bought 10 acres right behind us here. And so not only did we heal that relationship, we will be raising our kids together very soon.
Just to give a little context on the other side of it, so we had a farm in California, and the day that he was being forced to post that thing, he literally was running away. I was following him around the farm, but all the board members were calling him and pressuring him, and I'm like chasing him, begging him not to do it. But because of the whole George Floyd thing, and all of a sudden he was being dethroned basically for being white from his own organization that he had started, and he was incredibly ill. He had some physical stuff, had 3 surgeries that went wrong back to back, and literally it was hemorrhoid surgeries. And so he was like, I'm literally being dethroned and my illness was expressing it, and he was pale and sick, and I was like begging him not to do it. But all of the board members and this $100,000, and they couldn't make payroll if they didn't get this donation, and this donation was being held, and literally, and he was already having to go through DEI training to learn. His wife is half black, but he was having to learn how to interact with people of color and be anti-racist and like all of it. And he was like so pale and bleeding. It was like on his side, he was just totally like withered away. He's the most inspirational, fun, loving guy you ever met. And he had just been withered down to nothing. And he succumbed. And it was really honestly good for Rylan, because Rylan's kind of has this thing that's like happy-go-lucky and everything's gonna be fine, and however she views what's going on is fine. And so he was actually shocked when he went to visit Mikki, and Mikki there was still unresolved feelings. In his mind, like, oh, we can get over everything. And the one thing Mikki didn't say is, Mikki said, you publicly said this, so you have to publicly unsay it. Yeah. And Rylan was terrified of doing that. And so, because speaking at this event, it was a health freedom event, and I said, we're going to see Mikki today, and we're going to take a picture, and you're going to post that picture, and you're going to do the public. I get that you guys healed it, but you've publicly disrespected him, and you're going to publicly respect him and restore that love. And then he voluntarily did it here in front of 150 people. But the pressure that was on him, it was incredible. And my brother is very inspired, but he's also very easily convinced. And it has made him be more convicted in his values and understand that he asked, if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for, if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall. Don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And that is really important. And I just want to say that the grace that he gave my brother has my brother be a better man, a better father, a better brother. And I think that we're going to need so much more of the skills of apology, the skills of forgiveness, because think about parents that are allowing their children to take cross-sex hormones and how they're going to have to reckon with that. Think about people that have cut off their family members and now are ill because they took the shot, and now they have to reckon with that. There's so much of this healing that needs to happen, and I just want to thank Mikki for being the example and walking that forgiveness, because I think that we're going to keep needing that. It's not going to go away. And government and the media's purpose is to have us feel divided. And we have to be, this is a skill, people call it a soft skill, but honestly, no matter how many bunkers you have, and if you're a millionaire and you have a farm and you're like, got everything handled and everybody's working for you, when the shit hits the fan, your money's not gonna be worth anything. And if you don't know how to fix the well or move the cows or do whatever, they're just gonna shoot you. You're like not relevant anymore. So it's the skills of being able to be under pressure and to be better. And so Mikki is an example of being under pressure and being better. And that's I think it's a hard skill, but they call it a soft skill, that we really, if we want to be in community and we want to survive whatever's coming, conversations and working through the gunk is 50% of community. Truly, it's 50% of community. Okay, Mikki, my next question for you is, and then we can start to open it up to the audience to ask some questions for you. What do you view the role of We the People is right now? What is it you're going to be doing in the next 5 to 10 years? And what do you want everybody walking out of this room tonight to be committed to in their lives in the next 5 to 10 years?
Great question, and thank you for the kind words, Molly. I really appreciate that.
I mean it.
I know you do. It's time to get busy. It's time to get into action. And I actually had a conversation with someone on the way over here today. And it was somebody who was saying, he works with us in music department with our movies. And he was saying, we're all on a different path. And I said, this is true. He said, there's one man his role might be to sit on a mountaintop and just pray or meditate, and while everyone else is on the front line doing stuff. And I said, yeah, tell him I'm busy. And I said, yeah, you're right. We're all on a different path. We all have just the parts of your engine. Everything has its own little purpose. And I said, but in certain circumstances, if you take those 5 men, the one that's on the mountaintop, the one that's a filmmaker, the one that's the chef, they all live in the same house, and that house is on fire. There's children on the 2nd floor. Suddenly, the life paths of those men become unified. There's an urgent matter that takes precedent over your life's path. And in that moment, it's about saving those children. And that's the moment we're in right now. The house is on fire. We're going to put it out. We're going to be stronger and wiser. I have no doubt about that. But this is when all of us, men and women, step up to play our primal intrinsic role. And it can be small, and it can be big. As long as we're imagine if all 8 billion of us stopped avoiding reality of what's happening. And we actually realized that there's a reason that the Constitution, the very first amendment of the Constitution, is about your voice. There's a reason that the Bible says at the beginning was the Word. Well, that's interesting. Our voices are what they're afraid of. Why are they trying to censor us so much? Why is my film the most censored film in history? Because it's truthful, right? And so whatever that might be, regardless of your age, regardless of your physical ability, none of that should get in the way. Like excuses, be gone. Because this is the time that we were all born for. And the societies that we've been raised into and the technological distractions that we have now prevent us from being still enough, quiet enough, and connected enough with infinite intelligence, with God, with Jesus, whatever you want to call it, for us to remember why we came here. So the number one thing I feel that we need to do is remember. Whatever it takes, there are songs that remind you, there's photos that remind you, not just memories of a past thing, but the memory. I said at the very beginning here, I said, most of the men and some of the women in this room at some point tied a sheet around their necks and jumped. Why is that such a common experience? Why is that so common? Why does everyone nod their head like, yeah? And why is it that if you ask children what they want to be when they grow up, it's shifting and not in a good direction? Because now they might say, I want to be a OnlyFans millionaire. But before we lost the morality and were corrupted by these things, what did children say they wanted to be? Give me some examples. Superhero, Superman, fireman, policeman, doctor,
Mother.
their dad, mother,
I wanted to be a farmer.
Farmer, ballerina.
My kids
Okay.
wanted to be a trash truck.
And that's something too, because if you can put yourself in the body of a 3-year-old child, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old child, why do they pick, I want to be a trash man? There was a point when I wanted to be the trash man too. But if you really ask them why, it's because they had an experience of a human being. The cop, the fireman came and saved the cat. The doctor made them feel better. The ballerina was moving on stage and you felt the beauty of a human ability that you just had forgotten that existed. That go on down the line of the superheroes. They're always saving something. It's the essence of what we get from those initial experiences of certain crafts and professions. Garbage man, loud, powerful machinery. It's like there's something, a little kid goes, yeah, whatever that thing's doing, I want to do it. And that is the most clear indication that God telling us that we were born to identify something that's in service. Those are all in service to something great. And then this world that we're born into, by design, makes us forget. Because the most dangerous person is one that remembers. Because they will die for their cause. And so that's what I'm hoping everyone awakens to, that remembers, like in our own small way, we start doing a little bit of that. We start saying, yeah, I might lose some. I always say you never lose a friend. If you speak the truth and you lose someone in your life, they weren't a friend.
Amen.
People will go away, but I am living proof. And I'll tell you, 80% of my people went away. And the ones who showed up are true friends. And my life is now surrounded in an environment of the most authentic, beautiful people that love me for me. And I didn't understand that I was in LA where people loved me because I was a director, and I might be able to put them in a movie. And so the authenticity, coming back to our roots, that's why I'm so smitten by what Molly is creating here. Getting our hands back in the soil, understanding we have to eat real food again, understanding that everything we need, every medicine and food grows from the ground. And it grows from the ground, sometimes in primary colors, almost like Legos, as if God said, one day, children, you're going to lose your way, and I'm going to put these things that are in bright colors that are also in the shape of what they're meant to do in your body. So a walnut, little tiny brain, break it open, there's 2 hemispheres, left and a right. It looks just like a brain, and it's brain food. Crack open a carrot, you look down, it looks like the pupil of an eye. Guess what? It's great for your eye. Avocado, looks like the cervix, it's great for it's just, you go down the line, bell pepper, 4 chambers, looks like the heart, great for the heart. Do we think this is by accident? This perfectly, divinely designed experience that we call life, that everything is provided for us, but we have these maniacs who've directed our powerful attention, which is the rudder of our ship. Look over here. Look away from the natural organic world. Look away from the simple things that actually bring you fulfillment, like love. And set your sights to conquer and for power and for easy and quick food and trying to merge us into the digital world. And I want to tell you guys this. I brought one thing to read to you all, because this is just one of many things that most people are not aware of, but it's to show that this thing that we're now experiencing in 2026 has been in the works for many years. There's a lot of people who just think things just suddenly got bad. No, things are just being revealed. They've been bad for a long time. So the beauty is they're being revealed. That's when we can do something about it. I want to tell you about the Tavistock Institute. Tavistock Institute of Human Relations is a nonprofit social science organization founded in the UK in 1947. It was funded by the Rockefeller Foundation and the British government to study social psychology and group dynamics. If you know anything about the Rockefeller Foundation and John D. Rockefeller, you'll know that he was America's first billionaire and the father of Big Pharma. He literally started with pharma. When he discovered that you can create synthetic medicines out of oil and he owned all the oil, petroleum, he cornered the market, rooted out all the natural medicine, gel and banished all the true doctors and created Rockefeller medicine. A lot of, medical error is now the number 3 cause of death in America, thanks to John D. Rockefeller. Tavistock has been called the Ministry of Brainwashing for being the world's premier center for mass psychological warfare. The Institute identifies how societies react to economic, medical, and social crises and use those reactions to implement policy changes that would otherwise be rejected. It provides the psychological framework used by governments and corporations to nudge populations towards specific ideological shifts. The counterculture rebellion of the 1960s, including the sexual revolution and the New Age movement, was not a spontaneous social evolution. These were covert psychological operations designed to destabilize traditional social structures and to soften the American public psyche, making them more passive and easier to control. The Institute is often described as the nervous system of a global technocratic network. It is a specialized consultancy that provides psychological data to powerful entities. They provide research on how to break a person's morale and weaken groups from the inside. They help businesses to use psychology to make employees more obedient and to trick consumers into buying more products. While the Institute officially defines its work as social science in the service of society, those who study its deeper history see a sophisticated apparatus designed to manage the human element of global political and economic systems. So this is one institution that was founded in 1947 to do what it's now doing, what we're now witnessing. We all have friends who go, what happened to them? What happened to them? That happened to them. And the beautiful thing, though, is we're not supposed to know that information. And now you know. And now we do something about it. We're in the process right now of creating, our team is incredibly busy. We have 6 films in production, and they're all about solutions now. So thank you. And then one of our films, Code of Creations, just won 2 Telly Awards, which is huge. We have a film that we're in the middle of right now called The People versus Poison, and we've drafted a new treaty that once codified into law will make it impossible for any of these maniacs to test on us or to poison our air, our soil, our water, our food ever again.
I think, thank you for reading that. And I was just saying 2 nights ago that telling the truth in every interaction is our greatest power. If we shy and tell the story we think that the audience, and the audience could be the lady at the dollar store, and whoever you're talking to in any given moment, wants to hear, then we're lying, even though we're not really lying. So we have to use our voice and tell our truth in every single moment, and we're all a compilation of what we're consuming in our community. And so be the truth in your community and be willing. I had one more question for Mikki, and then I'm going to turn it to you guys, but be willing to change your mind. And I'm famous for changing my mind and say I was a vegan chef making millions of dollars selling vegan food and seed oils, and now I'm here slaughtering cows, right? So it was a big swing. I realized that it wasn't the path forward that I had believed it was, and so I had to publicly, at great financial cost and great cost in many ways, say I was wrong. Veganism is not the path forward, and regenerative agriculture is what I believe. Now, if I was doing regenerative agriculture and it was not healing the soil and was not healing people around me, I am willing to change my mind again. But that's not what I'm observing. I'm observing that it's in alignment with God. So my last question for you, and then we can ask the audience some questions, is how do you think the role of changing your mind, and how can we make people more comfortable to change their mind? And not in the way like, oh, my pedophile is better than your pedophile because the way your pedophile did it was like totally like the way Trump's kids embezzle money is way better than the way Biden's kids embezzle money. No, I think Trump's kids is more better the way they are getting rich off of their father's frenzy. We can't argue for who's better like that, like where we change our mind because the red team or the blue team is doing it. Truly changing our mind publicly, I think there's a freedom that gives other people. So my question is, what do you think the place for that is, and how do we think people can how do we make that easier for people?
Yeah, that's another really great question. One of my favorite Bible verses is about the renewing of the mind. Joseph, what is the verse? Be not transformed by Right. What's the first one? It says something about be not transformed by the world, but by, exactly. Thank you. It's Pastor Joe. Love him. So, the renewing of our mind, which is really the remembering part that we talked about. Because we have everything that we need. And we've been through generations of propaganda. Every billboard, every magazine ad, every TV show that has done its best through this kind of work that I read to you. Don't think they don't have their fingers in entertainment and television and media and all of that. And so is it a coincidence that almost every sitcom that we've seen since the 90s or so is the dad's a bumbling idiot?
Right.
Right? It might work, but then they come home, hand down the pans, and shut up, Dad, get out of here. Dad has nothing to say. So bringing men back into our lives and understanding they have a lot to say, and they have a huge value. Feminism has done such a horrible trick to this country to bring women out of their intrinsic primal role to think they now need to serve the masculine role of boss lady. I'm talking about confusing the gender roles, which is a huge part of this agenda. Living into that in a healthy way, where there's a respect between the masculine and the feminine. Remembering those things, it'll hold everything in place, it's the glue. But those virtues of honor, of integrity, of honesty, of humility, those things that is why we chose Texas, because we have a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. And we will not give them anything less than the best. And this was the best we could find for them right here in Texas.
Yeah.
Where fathers still throw baseballs with their sons and they still go fishing. We can't let go of our culture, of our traditions. All these things get rooted out because other cultures are moving in and it's insensitive bullshit. We hold our culture, we hold our beliefs, we allow others to have their own too. But we remember what we've come from, who and what we are and whose we are. I'm not a religious person, but man, am I a lover of God and Jesus. I don't go to church, and if you do, good for you. I find a great solace of having a direct relationship with the true teachings of Christ, and praying every day and meditating and bringing that to my children, and just doing everything I can within my flawed body to be the best father and husband I can be. And whatever it is that we're doing, and of course the best filmmaker I can be, the best leader of my company that I can be. How well can I treat the incredible people who come? I get a lot of the credit, but I can never do what I do without the team I have. I could never do what I do without my wife, who holds it all together. And to acknowledge those elements of our lives, to never lose that gratitude, every day, thank you. Every day I love you. Every day remembering. Not just remember once and then now let it go for 20 years, but every single day. I'm breathing again today. Thank you, God. My mind is clearer today than it was yesterday. Thank you, God. I feel more courageous today and more certain about the direction of my work in the world than I ever have. Thank you, God. What an incredible experience that we get to have, that we actually get to be the generation that crosses the threshold from the tyranny that we didn't even know existed in the 50s. People started waking up to a little bit in the 60s, the 70s, and now here we are, 2026, going, holy wow, it's everywhere. What school board isn't infected with crazy ideologies, trying to possess our children and keep them from having family? We have a generation of young people right now at the prime of their lives saying they can't afford to have a family, or they're too terrified of climate change, that the world's going to end in 10 years anyway, so why would they have children? All by design. We have maniacs like Bill Gates telling us we're overpopulated, when the truth is 29% of this planet is land, the rest is water. 27% of the 29% could be inhabited by humans. The other part is uninhabitable, high desert, Arctic, whatever it might be. And we currently reside in 2% of that.
If you took the entire population of the United States and moved them to Texas, they could all have more than 1 acre or something like that.
Exactly. And so you hear all that stuff and you go, no, we're actually facing population collapse, which is not enough children, not enough families. So get busy, get out there, have sex, make love, make babies. On a serious note, it's just really remembering our humanity and understanding that we have been so conditioned. Even movies that we loved, like one of my biggest inspirations was The Matrix, the movie. When I first saw it, I was just like, wow. But even within that movie, they say humans are a parasite. How many movies have we seen where it's humans are the problem? And yes, we've done a lot of damage. Yes, we've caused a lot of pollution. Yes, we've destroyed a lot of beautiful things. But we are the solution, not the problem. The moment we shift that to start seeing ourselves, and as I always say, we're cells in the body of God. And you know what happens in your body when your cells are at war is the organism is sick. And so we have to come back together and understand that the division that Molly spoke about, racial, sexual, class, whatever it is, political, all of that is by design, because when we unite, even if we totally disagree with each other, when we unite and we understand, house is on fire, children on the second floor, rally of moms and dads, we're going to save these kids. They can't stop us. There's 8 billion of them, and there's probably 100,000 of them.
I literally just sat on my farm floor. I said, like, everyone who's the body of cell in the body of Christ or the body. I said, I want you to go out every day. How can I be the best body in the cell, cell in the body of Christ or the body of the world?
Does anybody have any questions for Mikki? Do you want to come up here or you want to talk loud?
I tried to talk loud.
Okay, you come up here.
We'll give you the karaoke mic if you sing a song.
Can't sing, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I still can't sing. So anyway, thank you for coming out there. You talked a lot about healing and forgiveness. Was it from East Texas?
It's been there yet.
But you caught me, okay. Healing and forgiveness, really very important, but we also witness currently and previously that mainstream media and the connected people are just trying to move on without any corrections being taken, no mistakes being officially acknowledged. So my question to you is, both from a general perspective and a biblical perspective,
First perspective.
general basic ethical, but also biblical, do you think, as you would, I think it cannot, I think like many people, forgiveness requires accountability. What is your take on that?
I 100% agree. Forgiveness is a very powerful medicine, and yet absolutely requires accountability. The Hawaiians had an ancient practice called ho'oponopono. And so the gist of it is when two members of their community are at war, they sit across from each other and they basically repeat, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And it's a real simple mantra that doesn't say, I forgive you, but it says, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Which is really a complete sentence to heal just about any disagreement. And I'm not, we have a kind of a movement of new masculinity out there that is always saying never apologize. And I think that's a little bit extreme. And I don't think they understand where that's going to lead them. Because the healing happens in both directions when someone says, I'm sorry. Because when we hold on to, there's no way I would have not forgiven her brother, Rylan. I wanted him to be accountable. So I'd already forgiven him, but I actually said, but now you have to undo the damage you've done. You have to be accountable for what you've done. Because people will only remember what was said, and it was particularly damaging. When the media talks about me bad, no one believes it. But when one of my best friends says it, then people go, oh, right? Nice. He knows him. So that's when we go, okay, let's be accountable. It's one of the most important things we can do right now, because I'm still dealing with, I have friends here who just admitted to me the other night that they haven't seen their family in 2.5, 3 years because of COVID. And that was the goal. That was the goal, is to just put us in odds, ideological odds. We have been so conditioned to think that what we believe is who we are, that when someone disagrees with us, then we take it personally because we think they don't they're not validating who I am when it's just an idea, right? I hope that answers your question. If not, please ask it again.
It does, thank you. So you think forgiveness does require acknowledgement and accountability, right?
It does, but here's one thing too, is when we are going to heal a relationship, expect nothing from the other person. You might get something, but expect nothing. We have the ability to go in and here's what I'm going to do. Even if I think you were in the wrong, you played a role in this. I'm not going to come in and go, okay, I'm sorry, your turn. I'm going to clean it up for me and for you, and I expect nothing from you. If you actually give me something, then it's just cherries on the cake.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, maybe agreeable on the personal level. But what about the public policy level? Don't you think we have to make sure there is acknowledgement of the mistakes and crimes that were committed? These were crimes.
Okay,
These were
now
not
make it
just
specific.
mistakes, they were
Yes.
crimes.
Yeah.
Can those be forgiven to these people that made the decisions then
Yeah.
without accountability?
For those who have done great harm, and they did it intentionally, they'll never apologize because that was their intention. They're not sorry. That's their job. When I see someone like Donald Trump still refusing to apologize for warp speed and understanding what it's doing to his numbers, to his base, then you go, that's when the ego becomes really counterproductive to your greatest goal. Because yes, you would have to eat a little bit of crow, but if he were to say, it's real simple. He doesn't want to say I got it wrong. It's the best thing ever. Warp speed is the best thing ever. What he could say is the delivery mechanism that I put together to enlist the U.S. military to deliver something in a record speed of time was absolutely phenomenally successful. Unfortunately, the product that you delivered did a lot of damage. I'm sorry for that. That would make a huge difference with a lot of people in this world. Because there's a lot of people that are really stuck on the fact that's never been acknowledged. And when those things, we all have it interpersonal within our families, with how amazing is it when someone finally comes to you with an old grudge or whatever, and they just finally acknowledge it. Usually tears follow that, right? So, you know, do we want apologies from the medical institutions? Yes, we do. Do we want apologies from Fauci? We'll never get it because that's his job, right? So he's never going to admit it. They'll go to their grave. And some of them actually believe they did okay. They live in such an isolated bubble. This is the one thing. We work a lot with politicians. Work with them very closely. I've been shocked to be in intimate environments with people that most people only see on television, and to learn that they actually really believe what they say on television. I've been shocked many times thinking, oh, he really believes that. I thought that was a political talking point. What kind of isolated bubble does this man have to live in? That information has never reached him. It's a very strange thing, but it's real. They keep them so insulated that it's usually a shock to them when they learn the truth.
I don't want to dominate question time here. I'm sure there's other people.
Well, I hope that.
Thank you very much. But I agree to you, especially with the silos you just mentioned. I think that's something we all need to be aware of. A lot of these people are so misled, so brainwashed. They truly believe in it. I think the first is to acknowledge some of these people, that's not harsh. But some of these people, they mean good. Their intentions are good. They're just so siloed in their bubble that they don't know it.
That's right, yeah. One of the things that stopped us from apologizing is this thing called collectivism. So if you've seen Plandemic 3, and all my movies are free, so go to plandemic.com, and you can watch them all there for free. Why do I give my movies away for free? Because, especially that series, because this is information that was stolen from the people, and we decided that it didn't feel right to sell it back to the people, right? It's yours. So it's all free. When you understand what collectivism is, Plandemic 3, which is called The Great Awakening, is about collectivism. Because until you understand, and you look at the Bolshevik Revolution, you look at what Mao Zedong did in communist China, all of these things, it's very similar to, look at an extreme sports fan, right? They fight in the parking lot all the time. I like the Dodgers, you like the Yankees, let's go. Right? The moment you start identifying with a tribe, that's when I'm even cautious these days. When people say, are you Christian? I go, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Because Christ had a problem with all that too, right? And so you have to be very careful what you identify with. There's only one label that I mean, of course, husband, father, man, that's who I am. But human. If we can all just say the tribe we belong to, there's one tribe and it's human, a lot of the animosity and problems we see go away. Doesn't matter, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, whatever, it's like human. And so the labels are a big problem. Because then we start fighting for that label, and when somebody is outside of there, and it's primal. When we first existed on this planet, we existed in tribes. And our tribe had a leader, and we had to agree with that leader or we'd be cast out of the tribe. This is where the obedience comes in. Being cast out of the tribe meant certain death. Wildlife, starvation, other tribes, whatever it was, we needed the protection of our tribe. So if we want to learn to fit in, to be safe, to survive, we must agree. They're playing on that primal conditioning with all these agendas. And so when we understand that, we go, oh, they're using what that, you were wired to agree with authority but now we're breaking free from that. Now people are starting to go, I'm the authority of my own tribe. My tribe is my family only. It's humanity. And so when we start to just exist as humans, we find that we have a lot more in common than we've ever had conflict in, right? Sure, now you're done.
Sorry, I promised, brother. Yeah, I'm so sorry. If somebody has urgent questions, please. I don't want to hold him. But the labels and class ideology, I think that's actually very important. I think there's a distinction that labels actually can be very important if they're not based on unmutable characteristics like on skin color, race. But of course it is legitimate to call somebody a good man or a bad man, or a Christian or a Muslim. These are not things people cannot change. It becomes really destructive when you talk about defined classes and labels, but immutable characteristics like size or skin color. That's the ones that we shouldn't be using.
Yeah, great distinction. Thank you. Who's next? Thank you. Thank you. And now, question. Okay, John. Bring it.
Hey, I just want to appreciate your depth of understanding of the world and human relationships. I'm really grateful that the conversation goes in that direction because it's really meaningful. In my work, I work with a lot of older folks, and as you probably know, there's a lot of people that are estranged from their children because of the vaccine and all that stuff. And what I notice is there's a lot of blame, and it's the kids. But just observing how people communicate it all and about their children, it's my realization that I think, in large part, folks from within our tribe tend to bear a lot of the responsibility too. There's this arrogance, there's this desire to assert themselves on the decisions of others. Even if they are being misled, that has a tendency to strain relationships as well. So I don't know if you've reflected on that or if you've observed something similar, and maybe you could share how folks within our community can maybe have the vulnerability or the humbleness to recognize when we've contributed as well to the tarnishing of relationships.
Yeah, the two words that I tend to include into my every prayer is what I'm always asking for is humor and humility. Because we take ourselves way too seriously. Even during a serious time, there's laughter, humor is so important. Humility is what I find is one of the most powerful medicines. When I'm struggling and not feeling peaceful inside, it's because I'm not humble to someone. I have to find out what is that spot, where's that point of agitation that I'm holding on to something, I want to be right, I'm pissed off at people. How can I remind myself in those moments that as shitty as some things feel, there's always divinity. And it's hard for us because these brains were meant to keep us here in this third dimensional reality. It's hard. When we start thinking about divinity, almost other dimensional, right? Because we go, well, things aren't perfect here. True, and not true, because it's both perfect and not. For me, it's been an exercise of how do I get my brain to wrap itself around the idea that even though I feel very wronged by this person in our tribe or whatever, if it's divine, can I call it divine even though I really hate what they did? Borrowed money and then didn't pay it back or whatever it might be, and I really needed that? Or can I surrender to this experience that we call life? They say God works in mysterious ways. And what I'm learning, because it's all a work in process, is the faster that I can remember that nothing happens to me, but it always happens for me, even the worst possible things. The moment I sit with that and actually, not just the idea of it, but the moment it sinks in is like, yeah, I remember that. In that moment, some new possibility arises. And I go from, I hate this person, to, thank you. Really. Like, you were the agitator of the month for me. And I have been telling a story that you have created grief for me. Bless you. But the truth is, I created the grief. You did what you did. And the way I related to what you did, and held on to the anger for what you did. A month later, I was literally praying for what I don't want in those moments. And so that's been my personal work, is to go, okay, let me come back to that memory of, if it happened for me, what is the lesson? I teach my kids this all the time, and it's incredible at their age. God, I admire them so much. I learn so much from my boys because they were born into this. And it's like, it takes me a while, because I'm wired by this. I'll be 59 in a few days. I'm wired by 59 years of public school and television and all this stuff, right? My kids get off of it so fast. The moment you just give them a slight suggestion, they're angry at each other. The moment you go, maybe it's a gift. Oh, but then make me, and then just suddenly they're like hugging, going, I'm sorry, bud. Okay, cool, let's go out and play. They're just like, done. And it reminds me, it is that easy for us. And if one of the greatest goals that we might have right now is the reunification of the human organism, which I believe it is, why is there so much effort to divide us? Because united we stand, divided we fall. And if you make a list of everything that's under attack, and I really challenge all of you to do this. Take a moment tonight, tomorrow, this weekend. Make a list and keep adding to that list. What's under attack in America? Our children are under attack. Do we all agree with that? Yeah. Families under attack? Yeah. God is under attack? Yeah. Our finances are under attack. Our jobs are under attack. Our health is under attack. Look at all these things. You make a list of what's under attack, and then change the name of that list to the things that give me power. Because everything that gives us power, that lights us up, that triggers the biophotonic light in our cells, that light us up, is under attack. Because it is a battle of dark versus light. A real battle of dark versus light. That's not the metaphor. Darkness versus light. We produce light in our bodies. And so the goal of the darkness is the dimming of our light. And so why is the media, when's the last time you saw a positive story on the news? I saw one the other day and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. This kid's about to die, right? He's a spelling bee champ, but what happened? He won the spelling bee and then he got hit by a bus, right? It's coming. He just won a spelling bee. What? And then moved on to the weather. I'm like, what happened? I can't believe that that was a positive story with no traumatic ending. Why? Why is our daily news, all of it is just, here's how another human did something wrong. Here's how scary it is out there. Here's another shooting for you. Here's another flood for you. It's because we live in an electromagnetic vibrating planet, a frequency. And I call it the frequency game. If you don't know how to play the frequency game, you don't survive this world. Because we have a frequency. In this room, there's a frequency. Not just the radio and the different those frequencies, but the earth resonates at what's called the Schumann resonance, which is 7.83, I think, hertz. Our music was tuned away from harmonious frequencies from 432 and 528 and to 440. Guess who did that? Rockefellers. Interesting. Made all the standardization of music tuned to these disharmonious, chaotic frequencies that cause disruption in the human field. And so these are the things that have been kept out of our lives to understand that there's a reason some people, you all have friends that walk into the room, they say, hey, light up a room every time they walk in. My wife lights up every room, but her sister, who lives across the street from us, every time she walks in the room, the whole vibration of the house changes. She lights up the room. And then we know the people that do the opposite when they walk into the room. Oh God, they're here. Right? And that's not just because they're jerks. It's because they carry a vibrational frequency, and then it creates what's called entrainment. If you know what entrainment is, there's a phenomenon of whole antique stores with grandfather clocks, and sooner or later the pendulums will start to match and entrain to each other. Right? There's a lot of different ways that these energies, and so if you have a powerful energy field, you can entrain a massive room of people, and it's a ripple effect. You change the field. And so in this battle of dark versus light, the most powerful thing we can do is shine brighter. And we get to control that. We get to control that by what we're consuming, what we're experiencing. If you're watching negative stuff all day long, well, that's what you're going to train to. I spend so much time with my wife and kids. They just light me up. And I bring that light and infuse it into my films. And people see the film and they don't even know what they're feeling, but they go, I cry, I never cry. Because we're infusing that vibration of love and light into the work that we do. If you look at my studio, there's one big word across the wall, and that's L-O-V-E. Because it's the most powerful antidote to fear. We think of it as, oh, the hippie revolution and I love you, but no, it's so much more than that. That feeling when we feel love, what's happening to our field at that moment, it's the most powerful thing we can feel, and it will train everyone else around us to feel that and to get in tune with that. And so what they're trying to do is tune all of our tuners like a radio to their music or static chaos. We can't dance to it. It doesn't sound good. And so the experience of life suddenly becomes something unenjoyable, because who wants to sit in a car with 12 radio stations all playing the cacophony of different music? And most households are filled with conflicting stations. And so our family spends a lot of time hitting everyone a line. What's going on, buddy? You don't seem like you're in a good mood today. Let's talk. What's going on? Yeah, this thing just happened. A girl told me I was ugly, and I'm just really sitting with that and whatever. Okay, good. Let's flip this around. Let's talk about maybe what's going on for that young lady that she would make such a comment to you like that. Let's flip it around. So you think you're ugly? No. Well, you're not. You're gorgeous. You're beautiful. You're a shining light. Let's turn that around. And what matters is not what she says or anyone else says, but what you know to be true. We call it being bully-proof. Bully-proof to the world. Say whatever you want to say. So all that said, that for me is the inner work that we can all do right now in all of our lives, every single day. And we have a dark moment. We know we're tuned to that funky radio station. Fine, that's okay. Try to dance to that for a little while. You'll get tired of it. And then tune that tuner back to whatever it is, that beautiful country music, soul music. I'm a blues man. Whatever gives you that lift. And then make sure everyone else around you is lifting themselves up and lifting each other up. Because that is truly how we defend the... One more thing about the light versus dark is, I work with 3D art. And what I realized, I had epiphany one day, because there's what they call 2D art. So if you look at Looney Tunes, that's 2D art. It's not 3D, it doesn't look real. It's just one-dimensional, two-dimensional characters moving on a flat screen. Then they create this thing called 3D. And now it's so good you can't even tell, right? When it jumps off the page and it's in 3D, and this is the third-dimensional reality that we live in. What makes 3D? Anyone? Shadow. So the shadow is an intrinsic part of our life here in the 3D dimension of Earth. It will never go away. We don't want it to go away. But it should never obscure the entire image. And that's what the shadow's trying to do right now. And so we shine brighter. And the beauty of that is that the shadow becomes a catalyst for us to raise our vibration even higher. The more it presses at us, the higher we get. And we start to then come back into, I think we've been lagging in consciousness because we've been so distracted. we're finally going to catch up to where we were meant to be in our evolutionary process of consciousness. And that's what we all get to serve here together.
Let's give a big round of applause for making good on it. Thank you so much for coming by. I want to say one last thing. This place only works because the community supports it. So thank you guys for coming. Thank you for being part of the community that supports it, and not in a hard sell way, but feel free to buy bread or go to the store. Me and my family are deep out on the skinny branches trying to make this work because we believe that this foundationally is important. If we don't have healthy food, we can't get to anything else. So my request is that you continue to support what we're doing. Obviously continue to support what Mikki's doing, but you can't have cool stuff in your neighborhood or in your part of Texas if we don't support it. And so this only works because of all of you. So thank you. If it's your first time here, thank you, Ramona, who's come to every supper club that we've had, and her husband, Dave. Thank you all. So thank you from me and my husband and my brother and his wife who are not here. It makes a huge difference for us. And vote with your dollars every day.
Thank you all so much for the inviting attention. Thank you.
We do ship stuff, yes. Ramona made me a birthday cake, and they've been waiting patiently to sing me happy birthday. And you guys, my birthday was the day before yesterday, and I was a speaker at the supper club, so we didn't celebrate. But Ramona made me a cheesecake, so sweet. So they've been patiently waiting over
Happy birthday to you.
Woo!
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mom.